Hello and welcome to Cindy's Artistic World, where today it's all about canning beans.
Today, my canner's still out from canning tri-tip. That's the last 2 jars I have to go put in the other room. But I have decided I'm going to can beans. I found that when I did it the first time, it was so enjoyable to just have these ready. And I'd rather do this than buy them and stock them from other cans. So what I've done is I filled up my jars 1/3 full, and I'm going to fill up my other jars with a variety of beans, not just the pintos. And then they're ready to cook just the way I would cook them otherwise. So I'm using the smaller jars this time because I'm going to have a couple of large ones, but that takes a lot of eating, and I tend to cook for an army when there's only 2 of us. I have filled my jars about 1/3 full. You want to stay under the halfway point for sure. Maybe a little more. But what I'm going to do is just fill them up with tap water this time. The next round I'll do them a little differently. This is my soak and rinse. So I'm going to fill these up. Normally I wouldn't leave the water running, but I'm doing this for you. Anyway, I'm going to go fill the rest of them up. Okay, so it really doesn't matter if you put too much salt in or too little salt in. Just put a little salt in, just like you're soaking your beans when you're going to cook them on the stove. And we're going to let these sit until they've doubled in size. I'm going to let these soak, and then I would rather have it a little too full and have to put it, when they fill up, I would rather have it a little too full and have to put it in another jar. But I like to use the same jar. Some people just use a great big pot and put them all in it. I like to use the same jar. So I'm doing some big red beans. I like the red beans for chili. I will add a little salt to each one of these so they plump up nice and big. Okay, so here's just a little update. You can see that these are filling up really well. The pinto beans are your softest beans, so they are the softest bean of the ones I'm doing. So they're first at plumping. They will plump a bit more. I'm not going to drain them yet. Then my white beans are the second softest, so they're filling up nicely. The hardest bean is your red beans. These take longer, but I don't have to soak them all the way to softness because they will soften up in the pressure cooker. But just that little update.
So after my beans have plumped up to my satisfaction, I drain them and rinse them, and then on to...
Okay, so now I have my beans here, and you see this one's too full, so I'm going to take some of these and put them in this one because it's not as full. And here I am trying to do it with one hand. One day maybe, who knows. These won't expand quite as much now. I'm going to take just a few out of a couple of these other little jars here. The only ones that should really expand much now are the red beans because they take longer to soak and soften. I also have a few too many white beans, so I'm going to pull a few of those out and just chuck them. Okay, so there's a couple of changes that I'm going to make this time. I'm using plain salt, and there is a reason for this. It actually is better for the color of your food. And I'm going to put, the small is going to get 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and the larger one 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And I'm also going to put my lemon juice in there, and instead of regular tap water, this time we're getting the filtered water in. So I'm going to start with the juice and the salt in these cans. I'm not going to put quite as much in these little ones. I couldn't throw any beans out. That just wasn't me. So, and I need to put another one in each of these big ones to make it a half. Just going to go around the block here and fill them up with filtered water to that rim. I do want to make sure they're filled up because these are still going to expand. Okay, and as with all of them, you want to go around and stir each one and get the air bubbles out. I think this one might be a little too full. Okay. Clean the rims, put on the rings. I always use just good old distilled vinegar and a paper towel to clean my rims. You can get fancier, you can change it if you want. When it's, you know, meats, obviously I'll change it. But just like that. Clean them off. And then time to put the rings on. As always, you want to make sure and check your rings. Make sure that they're good, that the seals aren't damaged. And even the rings, this one's doing okay, but see that little rust if it gets too crazy. Had some really good bad this last time. So here's a good example. This one here, it doesn't look bad, but it evidently got bent and it doesn't want to screw on tight, so therefore I'm changing that one out and getting rid of it. So not everybody agrees with this. Some people say you don't have to make these tight. I do make mine tight, and they'll always come out loose after a little loss from the pressure canning. But I definitely put these on tight where they don't move. I'm going to add enough water just to cover the bottom, put the cans in, and then I'll decide how much more I need to put in after the cans are in. But you don't want too much or it takes forever to get it to temp and pressure. So I stacked them up, double stacked them. Don't know if you can see it. And now I don't want to forget to put my splash of white vinegar in it. Doesn't have to be much, but that keeps your jars and lids from going bad. I'm going to turn it on. Let it warm up, and then I'll put my lid together and put it on here in just a few minutes. So I just put my seal back in. You want to remember to check the little hole here and make sure it's not plugged up. And that's where your rocker sits. And check this seal right here as well. Hello. This one I have, it needs to be replaced, so I'm going to be replacing it before long. It's doing okay still, but I got to watch it so it doesn't lose its pressure. Okay, my lid is on, and My flame stays high until I get the venting. I'm usually between 6 and 7, which is pretty high. But that's just until I get the venting, and then I start putting the flame down.
As always, thanks for watching.